One of my more irritating tendencies, and I have many, is a refusal to actually be coaxed into a solid position whenever I'm discussing something. And a lot of people interpret that as perhaps some species of intellectual trollism, but I don't see it that way. What I tend to see it as is a desire to use my intellect to attack every possible idea out there. As Sherlock Holmes said, disprove all that is disprovable, and whatever is left, however improbable, is the truth, etc. Socrates said something similar. And for that exact reason, I don't rule anything out either. I refuse to call myself an atheist, even though the philosophy that I espouse is remarkably similar to that which is espoused by a great many of people who do self-describe. Which is why I'm not averse to bringing in things like fiction and literature and religious literature into my discussions, into my inquiries. Again, I'm going to do that now. I referred in a previous video a couple of times to Hindu literature, and there's a phenomenon in Hindu literature, but not exclusively in Hindu literature or Hindu religious literature, called Leela. I think it's pronounced that way, and that works in tandem with Maya, which is illusion, the illusion that reality has some sort of reality to it, whereas it's actually just an illusion. Leela says things are just a game. Reality itself is a game. Now, this is one that I find problematical, but it does explain an awful lot of points of view that state that the universe is a good place, regardless of whatever evidence is there. You see, no matter what happens in this universe, no matter what happens to any of us, whatever sufferings we have to endure, the fact that we have a limited lifespan, and everything has a limited lifespan, means that the suffering will one day end. Now, just take the worst possible existence of a human being, the absolute worst that you can possibly come up with. It's not going to last longer than 100 years. In terms of 100 years, eternity is less than that. It's less than a millisecond. It's less than it. In fact, when you try to compare something finite with something infinite, it becomes impossible ultimately. So why take even the worst things you can imagine? How's this for blasphemy? Why take the Holocaust all that seriously? As I said, that's modern day blasphemy. You can't talk about the Holocaust in that way, but what I would say is, I would tell anyone who has suffered from this, whatever suffering has been created by that horrible event will eventually peter out, and the human race will heal from it. One could say that one is already, the human race is well on its way towards healing from it, from the effects of the Holocaust. Godwin's law is pretty useful to us in some cases. Hitler is the ultimate evil here, so we can often reach for him as evidence of how bad things can get, or how bad we can deliberately engineer things to be. Leela says that the universe is a playground. The playground has certain pratfalls. You can fall and skin your knee. You can fall off the monkey bars. You can even smash your head open. But that doesn't mean you want playgrounds to be abolished, because playgrounds are a great deal of fun. And ultimately, you leave the playground at the end of the day. The child is brought to the playground by his mother. He plays a little bit, and then mother comes and takes him home. Regardless of what happens in that playground, he's going to leave. The Hindu view of things is that Krishna, or God, or whatever you want to say, has created this gigantic illusion that we call reality, because for Krishna, it's fun. It's just a game. Life is nothing but a game. I'm not going to say that I subscribe to this theory, but it's kind of an interesting counterpart to the people who want to say that life is a pile of meaningless nothingness. Meaningless pain even, or pointless suffering. I see Leela as equally valid to the negative point of view, and in fact I tend to see them as one and the same, as I've said before. I take the most morbid antinatalist out there, and I tend to see them as identical to people who insist that everything will work out in the end. This sort of Panglossian optimism, this idea that no matter what happens, everything is perfect. Everything will be wonderful. That's the very same as the person who says no matter what happens, it's all garbage and shit. So, again, we can say that the universe is horrid, or that life or existence or whatever is horrid, but if you say that, then equally valid is the point of view that says that everything is perfect. Everything is nothing but Leela. There are traditions of this in Western thinking, Western philosophical thinking. The obvious case is Dante's Divine Comedy, where reality, life, the universe, and everything is just fun. It's just a big play that one really oughtn't to take all that seriously, because ultimately it's nonsensical, and it's basically whatever you say about it, its opposite is also true. So isn't that a bit absurd? Isn't that a bit crazy that one should attempt to really figure this out? And then isn't it kind of even funny that one should try to make sense out of this crazy universe? It's just a game. It's just some silliness that's going on that really, the only real danger in it is that you take it all seriously. Again, I'm not saying that I subscribe to this, but what I'm saying is, if the negative one is valid, so is this absurdly positive one. Thank you.